Hello folks, welcome to OTD, also known as On the Deck, where you can get all the sports you need in 10 minutes. My name is Adam Arduda. This is my mom, Gina.
He's a journalist.
And she's the enthusiast.
Oh, I am enthusiastic because for some reason we are in the middle of summer.
Well,
actually
not quite. Not quite, but you are on to something.
We're outside. It's like warm out
here. Actually Valentine's Day today, so happy Valentine's Day to
and
you.
Happy Valentine's Day to
it is a very special day for a lot of people, and but to the point that you just made, that it is almost summer-like temperatures here in the Midwest. We're so used to it being so cold and winter weather all over the place.
Literally,
can't get out of your house.
We're out here in the gloves and the hats.
Exactly.
It's like 70 degrees. So
it's unbelievable. But we want to say it's beautiful out here for us, and so we're excited to do our show today, as we always do on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so we're going to jump in today with some NFL news, off-season news.
Yeah.
There are some kind of some big updates that are taking place right now within the league. We're going to talk about some players, some key players that have already been dropped from their teams. We're going to talk about some new athletes or college athletes that are now and that are draft eligible, that are going to be drafted in this upcoming draft, and their decisions on showing up to the NFL draft and being picked up by the teams that may pick them up. And we're going to just talk about sort of the new things that are happening right now within the offseason. And so far it hasn't been too crazy, except for the last couple of days where some things have happened. There is free agency, which is what we're basically talking about right now. And let's talk about the New York Giants and kind of how they ended their season on a sour note, if you will.
Sure.
Some of their key players at receiver, Odell Beckham Jr., and the wideouts went down to Miami after a big win right before the playoffs, and it just didn't sit well with a lot of people. Even though it was their right to do that, they had the free reign to do that because they had a full week off or whatever before the game, and so, or the upcoming game. But a lot of people didn't like that, and then they ended up losing. They played the Green Bay Packers and lost. Now, I don't know if that necessarily had anything to do with them losing, but it was just the timing of it all didn't really sit well with people.
Well, it's interesting that you would say Odell Beckham Jr. because another one of the receivers who was on that cruise with his shirt off was Victor Cruz.
Victor Cruz, yes.
Victor Cruz forever was like not only the face of the Giants. He had one of my favorite commercials. I think it was like an AT&T or DirecTV commercial or something.
It might have been DirecTV or Time Warner Sports or something like that.
He and his friend were stand-up trash talking each other. Like if you turned on your TV anywhere like 3 years ago, it was a Victor Cruz commercial.
Correct.
He was the face of the
He was all over
Giants.
the place. He was the spokesman for a lot of people.
Well, guess what? Not anymore, because the Giants released him yesterday. I was shocked.
Yes, him and running back Brandon Jennings were released from the Giants, and they've been pretty big players for that organization over the last couple years. And yeah, it's a little bit shocking news to hear that. Now, we do know what the NFL stands for, not for long. And if you don't produce year after year, or if you have a down year, it's okay. A lot of times people are willing to work with you, but he's been battling injuries, and he hasn't really become the same Victor Cruz that he once was. And so his contract is kind of taking up some space for them, and they needed to make some moves.
Well, you know, it's also, it's what have you done for me lately? Victor Cruz carried them. He and Eli, you know, were basically the Giants, the New York Football Giants. And then all of a sudden he got hurt, and he had back-to-back down seasons because of injury. He missed one full season, came back and played part of the season. And then this year he was, I think he was pretty healthy.
He was.
Decent numbers, but at that point, if you can't give the NFL 2 years on you, you hang it up. Ask any coach. That's all.
If you're out 2 years, that third year, you better do something more than what he did, at least, because
poor Victor.
He was doing what he could, and it just wasn't enough for them to feel like they had to keep it. And like I said, Brandon Jennings was a running back for them. He also got released, and so those are two pretty big names. Now, they probably will get picked up. They're good enough athletes and players that someone will pick them up immediately. So.
True enough, like a vulture, I already tweeted out, come to KC, Victor Cruz.
Right.
He's good looking.
Exactly. So we hope that it works out for those two athletes. Victor Cruz is a good guy.
Where do you think Victor will land? Since we're talking about
now, you know, I think there's a lot of places that would take a Victor Cruz. Like you say, he's, you know, good looking guy, has his stuff together, came out of UMass, so he's kind of one of those guys that plays with a chip on his shoulder.
Right.
And he still is a good athlete, good player. I'm not exactly sure. There are a lot of places that need receivers.
I was going to say, a lot of the receiving cores have been kind of, they go in cycles. So he can go anywhere. I'd love to see him come to Kansas City, but for some reason, I feel like New Orleans could use him.
New Orleans could use a Victor Cruz. That would be a good pickup for them.
Victor Cruz combo could really do something.
But, I agree with that. That's a really good team. Then, the Vikings may need another receiver as well.
That's true. That's true.
We'll see with Teddy Bridgewater. Hopefully, Teddy Bridgewater will be back for this season, but we'll see on that. But so Victor Cruz and Brandon Jennings, they'll land on their feet, and they're good athletes.
Running backs are kind of a high demand right now, too.
They are, so we will see.
It's kind of a good transition because you talk about the fact that he was released because they need to free up some cap space up on the top end so they can bring in more people.
Right.
Well, that really comes down to when you're trying to do draft and trade time.
Correct.
And we're, a couple of weeks away? We're a couple of weeks away from the combine.
We've got the combine coming up, and then the NFL draft. Correct.
But don't we have some gossip on the supposed number one draft?
Well, speaking of the NFL draft, Myles Garrett out of Texas A&M, he is an outside linebacker and defensive end. He is slated to be the number one overall draft pick for this upcoming draft. And rightfully so. He's a really good player. I got a chance to really watch him in the bowl game against our team, Kansas State, and he is a force to be reckoned with.
Wait a minute, did Kansas State win that game?
They did. They came through. They did. It was in the Texas Bowl down in Houston, where the Super Bowl was this year at NRG Stadium. So it was a big time game. All the scouts were there, and he showed out. He had a really good bowl game, and that was fun to watch him go to work. And Kansas State struggled with him, but he's only one guy on that team, which is why I think we were able to overcome this. Speaking us, Kansas State.
All right, anyway, but he's slated to be number one overall.
And he's good enough to be the number one overall pick. He has been outspoken the last couple days about what is going to conspire when it comes to the NFL draft. He has been open about saying that he's going to be at home instead of being at the NFL draft this year. Which is...
if I don't know if you can see my eyes because I have on a habit, I'm rolling my eyes. Can we pause there for a minute?
Sure.
Because 2 years ago, you had Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston, number one, number two quarterbacks from big-time college programs, Florida State and Oregon, and both of them decided they were going to sit out the NFL draft. And I get it. For Jameis, I understood that there was a lot of press issues. He's like, darn that. I'm going to stay at home with my grandma and use that as an excuse. For Mariota, he's like, look, I'm a Hawaiian. I want to be with my family there. But I've really said then I hoped it wasn't a trend, and I don't really think it will be. Last year, Jared Goff was there. But I feel like this is a really big day for the fans. You guys are transitioning from college into pros, and your fans come, and they wait in line to get tickets to get inside there, or some of them stand outside to hear your name announced. They want to see you stand up there and hold up your new team's jersey and shake Roger Goodell's hands. I think it's an important transition. It's like I'm skipping graduation. You know what I mean? Go to the event. That's a big deal, and I really don't want to see, especially these number one overall picks, not showing up. So that's just my 2 cents, and we'll talk about that more later, but I don't want to see that.
Well, I mean, since we're on that topic, we might as well just get into it. I personally don't think it's going to be a trend. You see this every year where a couple first-round guys don't show up for whatever reason. I don't think it's a big deal, just as long as everyone doesn't do it. I thought it was a little much for both Jameis and Marcus to not be there. Because
they were number one and number two.
To me, that's one of those situations where it's like, hey, I don't know. I'm not sure about that, but I do understand it from a player's perspective where it's like, hey, look, I want to be with my family. I want to be with the people that have got me here, who have supported me through this whole journey. And if I can do that at home in my own space with all my family and friends, why would I not, take that opportunity? I agree with you. I think it is a very special and unique opportunity to go to New York or Philadelphia this year. It's in Chicago last year. Wherever they're hosting the NFL draft, I do think it is important for that athletes to be there.
And I get it. It's kind of like when you go to graduation, they say you can only have 4 tickets and you got to leave grandma and cousins at home. But as the family member, I would say, I don't care who gets the tickets. You go. I'm going to record it on the DVR. I want to see you standing next to Roger Goodell.
I agree. I think it's a big deal for the players to go. I totally understand it for why people or players aren't going. But I don't think it's necessarily a trend, because I think enough people feel like you, where it's like, look, I want to be in my $1 million suit with my bling, my hair's twisted up, and it is a big press thing.
A big deal.
So it just, depending on the player, But so I don't have a problem if some guys are saying, hey, look, I want to be with the people that got me here.
Well, isn't the real story on our young man that he doesn't want to go to the Browns?
The big story, so that's just the NFL draft as far as people staying home. But the big thing and concern is Myles Garrett is now speaking out about him not wanting to get drafted by the Cleveland Browns. Now, I think there's a lot of people that are on his side when it comes to this issue, because that is an organization that is in such disarray.
Wow.
It is very hard to feel excited and feel like I'm going to the place of my dreams when you're getting drafted by the Cleveland Browns. It's tough.
It's like being invited to the prom by the ugly guy, or, you know, by the person that you really can't stand. You know, you have a lifelong dream. I want to go to the prom, but then you go with somebody that you're just going to be really uncomfortable being there with. And I feel like that's what it is.
And no, you're going to be unhappy as soon as you get there.
Exactly. And then you got a long night.
You got a long night.
Dinner,
dance, right.
Think about it. This is a long career.
It's a really good analogy for what's going to happen.
And people are kind of giving him shade, but the Browns have the #1 overall draft pick. When you put yourself out there, and if you are blessed enough to be that guy, you don't have a choice.
Right.
And at that point, you know, you could try to do the Eli Manning thing where you try to bat away the Chargers and get traded.
Now that only happened because his dad is Archie Manning, and Archie said, no, that's not happening. Myles Garrett does not have that luxury of having Archie Manning as his father, so he's going to the Browns regardless, unless something crazy happens.
Over there. I don't know. We need to figure out what's going on with the Browns.
The Browns.
I don't want Cleveland to hate us any more than they already do. But I just want to say, Cleveland, get it together. The Browns organization is one of the old school football storied franchises. There is zero excuse to win one game this last year. You've got a good coach. I know there's a lot of building blocks that need to happen, but I'm with Garrett. You know, if all of a sudden, like, take a guaranteed money and do the best you can, and then do an Ndamukong Suh and try to get traded in a couple of years. That's lots of advice I can give you, son.
Just stay healthy. That's all I have. If I have anything for Myles Garrett, if it does happen or you have to be with the Browns, just stay healthy, because then you can always go to another team and you can do something.
Advice is, look, just hang in there. You go to another team
just hang in there. And maybe you can get some wins, and it maybe won't be quite as bad as you think if you're in there, and maybe it'll work out.
Think about, for a defensive guy, there's not always the big the big jersey wearers for the defensive guys.
It's tough. It's
kind
tough.
of an unsexy position anyway.
You got to really make your name, and the Cleveland Browns that's tough. So
I just say this: get your agent, get your money.
Exactly. Get your money and stay healthy. Well, that's really all we have now for it's the off season. We do have the NFL Scouting Combine, which will be coming up real quickly, and then the NFL Draft right after that, which is what we were just talking about. And there will be more off season trades or releases, people getting cut. That's just the process of it.
Yeah, the Grim Reaper is going around right now.
So you'll see coaches being hired and fired and let go. There's a lot of that going on because it's the off season. So we will give you more updates as they come in. And so we just want to say, please continue to follow us on all of our social media. We're very active on Facebook. Like our page. Type in OTD in Facebook. Type in my name, Adam Orduna, for YouTube. Please follow our Twitter page. She is JRepass_OTD, and type in OTD_on the deck.
Thanks for watching.
We want to say we appreciate your time. Thanks for watching, folks.